Yes, children, welcome back once again. Now we'll discuss about the rules of marriage. Well, sons were important for the continuity of the patrilineage. Daughters were viewed rather differently. Yes, children, you know, it is believed that for the continuity of the patrilineal practices, or to continuity with the father's property or father's dynasty or something like that, to continue the familial practices, okay, the son was considered very important, because it is believed that it was the son who will inherit the property of father, and so it was son who will carry forward the activities of his father. That is why for the maintenance of the dynasty, son was expected, I mean son was accepted as a very important entity. And at the same time, the daughters were viewed a bit differently. Their status, their importance in the family was a bit different than that of the son. They had no claims to the resources of the household. In the ancient, the rules and regulations of the Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, about which we will discuss later on in detail, did not allow the woman to, claim the resources of the father, resources of her father, or she was not allowed to inherit the property of her father. So that is why, that may be the reason, why that the woman or the daughters were expected to get married with a person from outside her own kinfolk, okay, or outside her own unit. And this type of the marriage is also called, gotra exogamy, where the daughters will marry outside the kinfolk, or the woman will marry outside the kinfolk. Among the families belonging to high status, the life of young girls and women were often carefully regulated, especially in the case of high class families in the society. The life of the daughters, girl and woman were, strictly regulated and very carefully regulated. And the male members of the family, especially the father, take care that, will ensure that the daughters will get married at right time to the right person. Okay, so that is why there are some story, about the stories about the organization of the Swayamvara for Sita, or for Draupadi, etc. These all practices are only to find out the good match, I mean the perfect match for both Sita as well as for Draupadi. Okay, and it is also said that Kanyadana means the gift of daughter. Kanyadana was one of the very important responsibility of the father. It was one of the very important religious responsibility of the father. And it is also said that if a father failed to get her daughter married at right time, it is said that this particular thing is against his merit. Okay, and if a father failed to get his daughter married, it is said that he will not go to heaven, or he will not attain heaven. So that is why Kanyadana was expected to be one of the very important religious responsibility of father. Now, with the emergence of new towns around 6th century BC, social life became more complex. Yes, dear children, I know between 6th century BC and 3rd century BC, it is said that it is the period of second urbanization in India. So, it was during this period of time, because of the urbanizations, the life of the people became more complex. Now, more and more, transportation and communication increased social interaction. Okay, now because of the urbanization, there was increase in the interaction among the people. There were, expansion in the transport and communication system, increase and improvement in the transport and communication system. As a result, because in the process of this buying and selling of the goods and transportation of those goods and all, large number of people came into contact with each other. There was increase in the communications. There was increase in the sharing of ideas and ideals among the people. So as a result, society became more complex by that time. So this may have led to the question of earlier belief and practices. Now, because of this type of urbanization, because of this type of the sharing of the thirds, that may have, created the situations when people started questioning about the earlier ideas, earlier rules and regulations, the rules and regulations prescribed to the people by, Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, and mainly and mostly enforced to the people by Brahmanas and all. Those rules and regulations, people may have started, questionings about the validity of those rules and regulations. So, to cope up with these challenges, by 5th century BC, Brahmanas started compiling Sanskrit texts called Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, laying down codes of social behaviors in detail. Now, in order to face those challenges of the questioning of those earlier ideas and thought, now, Brahmanas may have started, compiling Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras by, 5th century BC, so that, the special code of conduct, special rules and regulations can be formulated to the people, to be followed by the people in the society. These regulations were meant to be followed by Brahmanas in particular and the rest of society in general. So whatever the rules are now being framed, through those Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, Manusmriti was one of the very important, this type of law book, of the ancient India. And it is expected that those rules and regulations need to be followed by Brahmanas in particular. And it was also expected to be followed by the other people in general terms. So, Manusmriti, I already told you that Manusmriti was one of the very important, ancient law book. Okay, so this was, composed by Manu somewhere around, compiled by Manu somewhere around, between 200 BC and 200 C. Okay, well, the Brahmana authors of these texts claim that those norms and rules had universal validity. They expect that their prescriptions had to be obeyed by everybody, but it is likely that it was not being followed universally as claimed. Now, the one who have composed or compiled these Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras, and at the same time the other people who were enforcing those rules and regulations, they expect and they claimed that these rules and regulations have universal, validity. It is being followed and accepted by all the people in the society, irrespective of the social status they are belonging in. But it was not like that. There were a number of instances where we have seen that those rules and regulations were challenged. Not only challenged, those were not accepted also, not accepted deliberately in some cases. About this thing, this is one of the very important topic. I will be separately discussing this particular topic in my next topic or next video. Okay, this is one of the very important. Sometimes this question comes for 3 marks also, and in some cases I have seen that these questions can come for 8 marks also. So about which we'll discuss later on differently or separately. At the same time, given the regional diversity within the subcontinent and the different of different, different of the community. Just wait a minute. Yeah. Difficulties of communication, sorry. Besides, given the regional diversity within the subcontinent and the difficulties of communications, the influence of Brahmanas was by no means all pervasive. It was the continuation of the previous thing only, that I already told you that, the claim of Brahmanas were not universally accepted. Okay, it was not, although they proclaim or they claim that it is being universally followed, but it was not like that, because there was some problem also, like the regional diversity in India. India is a huge country. Indian subcontinent is a huge country. Okay, and there was large number of diversity, regional diversities are there. At the same time, there are the difficulties in the communications also. The language was different. Different people speak different language. So, maybe that normative Sanskrit may not be understand, everybody may not be able to understand this normative Sanskrit and all. So that is why we cannot even expect also that, those rules and regulations formulated by those, Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras could have been followed by all. It is, it's not practically been, practical also even. Now, what is interesting is that the Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras recognized as many as 8 forms of marriage. Of these, the 4 were considered as good, while the remaining were condemned. It is possible that these were practiced by those who did not accept Brahmanical norms. So, one instance we have seen here only, that, Dharma Shastras and Dharma Sutras have, recognized as many as 8 different types of marriages. And among those 8 different types of marriages, 4 marriages were considered as good form of marriage, and they expect that people should be doing this type of the marriages only, and rest 4 type of marriages were not not being liked, or it is being condemned or being criticized. But at the same time, this also gives us some idea that those people were not following those rules and regulations, Brahmanical rules and regulations. They may have been performing the next 4 type of marriages. Exactly, I'm not, it is not being exactly known that all those 8 next 4 type of the next 4 types of marriages are being practiced by the people who are not following the Brahmanical rules and regulations, but we can expect it. Okay, now let me discuss about the different rules of the marriages, and I'll tell you about different forms of the marriages.